Hey, welcome to Financial Revelations. I am David Szafranski, your host, and I got exciting news. At least it's exciting for me. I don't know if it's going to be exciting for you or not, but my book, The Sin of Retirement, is live. You can buy it right now at lulu.com. And if you go to lulu.com, you can just put in the title and you can buy it. You can go to my website too, which is what I recommend. The website, which will be on the screen, is Sin of Retirement. Just sinofretirement.com. And you can find out about the author, which is me. And you could buy a little financial merch, which we'll have some more up there. We're going to put up a pin that says, a magnet that says, I love stepped up basis. A couple other things. I'm, anti-communist, of course, and anti-socialist. So you're going to get some of that garb there, and I suggest you wear it everywhere. You can wear it under a sport coat, whatever you want. To the beach, to nice dinners at Chez Francois, as long as you have a jacket that you can wear if you're a man. Also you can call here at any time, 800-344-2534. You could email Corey at epsf.com, and you can catch me on Twitter at skibucks1. So get the book. The book is worthy of your reading. It's not a long book. It's not an econometric book. There's not, there's no math problems at the end. You don't have to pass a test, but it's going to make you think. And I think it's a good gift for people, no matter what their age is, because, we start planning retirement. Well, most people, not all of us, but most people start planning retirement when you're in your 30s. You start thinking about these things. And so I just talked to somebody yesterday. The guy, he's in the trades, and he's working on a house I own, and he's leaving the trades, which I think is a horrible decision. And he's going to go work for the Turnpike. And he's a great guy. I like this guy. He's like, I want to retire at 55 and do nothing. That's why I wrote this book. That's exact. I said, hey, by the way, I just wrote a book. You should get it. I don't know if he'll do that or not. I'm pretty sure he can read. But anyway, we're gonna go. We're gonna do an audio book when I get back from traveling. I've got an interview on Monday with Moody Radio about the book. There's a book launch coming, and you could be at it if you're in this area. And I got to admit it, it's pretty awesome to be a published author. I feel really good about it. I've done a lot of things in my life. This career has afforded me a lot of things. I have 2 patents. I've been all over the world. I've been to the middle of the world, really, in the Amazon. Put a muddy footprint on the bank of the Amazon where probably, I don't know, maybe 1/1,000,000th of all human population has ever been. There's something to that. There's something unique about the solitude of the Amazon. We take a Starlink with us now, so you're never really out of contact unless you want to be, and you can be if you want to. Speaking of which, we're doing a mission trip in March. If you'd like to go, I would encourage you to contact us to see if it's right for you. It is not right for everybody. And I know you could do a mission trip right here. I could do a mission trip right in my backyard in Lorain, Ohio, or in a lot of places here. We have relationships there that we built over many years. That's why we go there. It's not something like, hey, I got to go really far away to serve Jesus. No, I could do it right here. And we do it right here, too, also. So I don't want you to think we just go there, do it here, too. And I call you to do it here, too. Wherever you're at, you could be serving. So you don't have to go to the Amazon. And there's a lot of mission trips. You could go on. We're not the only game in town. So look around, find something that really fits with what you want to do, so that you can have some ownership in it. And I really like that. I like being part of something, making a difference. We used to give. My wife and I are charitably oriented, so we have a charitable giving plan. And this is a while ago, several years ago, but we're giving. I said, you know what? Let's every year around December, she would be off of work for school. We would sit down and we just look at our charitable giving and say, okay, do we want to do this? Do we want to add? Do we want to take away? Well, what we did is we kind of revamped everything, and we pared it down to where we're giving more money to fewer people so we can have a greater impact. And we do add people and we do remove people from that if they leave the mission field, which people do. It's hard to live. It's hard to be a missionary. It's very difficult to be a missionary. And people will do it for a time. They'll be called to it for a time. And then they'll be called away from that. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So it doesn't make them ungodly, or they haven't let you down if they want to go back into the private sector. They walked out their mission. So I love people that are in that mission field. When they go back to the private sector, they're back in the private sector. So I want to let you know, I got called out by a listener via email this week or last week, and I wanted to address their comment, which was that I promised. Look, I have to tell you, I learned early on in my career from my first boss, Ray, don't ever promise anything in this business. But I promised interest rates would be a lot lower by now, and, well, they ain't. They ain't lower. In fact, mortgage rates last week hit a fresh all-time high in recent history. And why aren't interest rates lower by now? Like, I'm the reason that interest rates aren't lower. And I can promise you this. I can promise this. I am not the reason interest rates aren't lower. Now, I, myself, am what I would call a financial guru, a genius financially. I secured a 30-year mortgage at 2.65%, and I ain't ever paying that thing off early because I could beat that in a money market right now. So I could basically lay down investment-wise and beat my mortgage rate. So that's an easy, I don't pay those debts off any faster. In fact, I pay them off as slow as I possibly can, as slow as my wife will let me. It's really Fed Chair Powell, or Fed Chair Powell, which is his real name. It's really him. It's political. This is a political stunt, a political animal happening right now that it's unusual. It's not totally abnormal, but it is unusual for the Fed to be this political. They were political before the 2024 election, where they lowered rates 50 basis points the month before the election and the month of the election. Trump had already won, and then they just stopped. And, and I know I've gone over this ad nauseum, so I'm going to make it quick, but when inflation was running rampant, they did nothing for like 12 months. And then they cut at one point, a month before the election and a month of the election. And now when inflation is falling, they're like, well, yeah, we got to wait. Yeah, we got to wait. Now, it is true. Some costs have gone up, especially if you get ground beef from Brazil. That is more expensive because we are sticking it to Brazil right now, tariff-wise, because, well, quite frankly, they're a socialist nation, and they're going to imprison their former president, just like they try to do here. And that's very political, and we stand with Bolsonaro. They're Trump of the tropics president. We stand with him, and because of that, we're going to punish them economically, and it's making things from there a little bit more expensive. Brazil is a huge beef producing nation, huge, probably the second only to us. But I do think soon that rates are going to come down. I do. I think within the next month or two, the Fed will start lowering rates. I don't know how fast they're going to go. I don't know how far they're going to go. But they could go at least a full 2.5, 3 points, I think, from where they're at, and probably be okay. I think eventually mortgage rates will settle 4.75 is where I see them settling, or somewhere right around there. Now, there is an argument afoot to fire Chair Powell. There is an argument, and it's being tossed out there and floated, and usually it is by President Trump. We'll talk about firing Chairman Powell. Now, I want to give you a scenario before I tell you whether we should fire Chair Powell or not. I want to give you just equate it to something, and I see this every day. I'm driving. I'm in traffic. I'm coming to the office like I do virtually every day. I wasn't here yesterday, but Virtually every day I'm in this office at some point, and you're in traffic, and you're going to turn left. So you're in a left turning lane. So think of this scenario. You're driving, you're getting to your destination, you're wearing your seatbelt because we're safety conscious, and it doesn't make sense not to wear your seatbelt. It's just part of our lexicon now. And you've executed your turn signal to turn left. You are in the turn lane, and you stop, and there's traffic coming towards you. Okay? Now, the first thing I do is I evaluate. How close is this traffic? How fast is this traffic going? Should I turn? Well, let's say you're in this scenario and you're in that left turn lane and your turn signal is flashing, your seatbelt is on, 10 and 2, you're alert, you're not on your phone, the radio's off, everything's in your direction. And the cars are coming at you. Yeah, I can beat this car. But then you look again and there's no traffic after it. But you could beat this car if you hurry. Now I gotta hurry and probably some stuff is gonna fall off the seat next to me. But if I hurry, I could beat this car. Should I do it? Or should I wait and let that car pass when there's no traffic and then go? You know, the way that I look at it is you could take a risk if it's necessary. Now, I don't know what a necessary risk beating left turn traffic would be, but I'm all for risk when it's necessary or appropriate. I don't like to take risks that are unnecessary or inappropriate. And to me, beating that car, trying to beat that car when there's no cars after it, is an unnecessary risk. Now, what does this have to do with Chair Powell, you may ask? Why am I talking about traffic when we're really talking about Chair Powell? Well, Chair Powell's term is up in just a few months, March of 2026. Not that far away from being out anyway. And if you fire him now, it is going to upset financial markets. It will. It's undoubtedly an alpha move to fire Chair Powell now. Now, I don't think he's done a good job. All in all, I really don't think he's done a good job. I think that he is unmistakably going to be remembered as a political animal, which is a shame for somebody who's had up until this, had a pretty good run. And I think there's always going to be an asterisk by Chair Powell's name and Alex Rodriguez's name in baseball. There's always going to be an asterisk there. Alex Rodriguez will never be in the Hall of Fame. Chair Powell will never be in the Financial Hall. Now, probably some people will celebrate him because he tried to sink Donald Trump, and they'll defend him. But I think inevitably he's going to be remembered as political, and that's problematic for him in the history books. Just like Jimmy Carter's Fed chair was remembered, Arthur Burns, as being a complete moron when it came to monetary policy. It was really Arthur Burns' fault that inflation caught another bid and skyrocketed. And as we've seen, inflation will cost a president the presidency. It's unmistakable, even when inflation is kind of subsiding. Now, when in 2024, well, Joe Biden wasn't the candidate. The Democrats gave him the ouster, in a coup. They couped him too. But the administration was really remembered as the inflationary administration, the worst since Jimmy Carter. In fact, Jimmy Carter lived long enough to not be the worst president in history. And so I wouldn't fire Chair Powell now. The damage is already done. And so all you're going to do is really upset financial markets, and you're going to have a chance to nominate somebody who I think is going to be apolitical. And I do think it's incredibly important that the Fed chairperson, whoever that is, does not bow to the wishes of the president. It's incredibly important. And I do think Janet Yellen was not a great Fed chair. I think Alan Greenspan was. He had that one irrational exuberance comment, which ended anybody's irrational exuberance the moment he said that. But I thought he did a pretty good job. And, I think the best thing that could happen to a Fed chairman is that you don't know their name, because they're so in the background that you just don't know their name. And I think the only time you're really going to know their name is when they're raising rates. And we've made it such there's always with Bernanke and with other Fed chair, we had a briefcase indicator, and what are we going to do with rates? Well, if we could take the Fed out of the pressure, I think everybody be a lot better. I probably would have more hair, I can tell you that much. So I don't think it's necessary to beat the car in traffic. I would wait till that car passes, at least in this instance. I would wait till the car passes and you got blue sky and no traffic, and then I would turn left at a leisurely pace so that the papers and the coffee and the muffins and the donuts and the Chipotle and the Burger King doesn't fly off your passenger seat. That's what I'm saying. I think we're so far into this now with Chair Powell, it just doesn't make sense to fire him now. And we don't need that alpha move. Although if President Trump did it, it wouldn't surprise me. But I don't think we need that alpha move right now. I think the alpha move right now is to pretend like he's not alive. That's what I would do. So don't turn left in front of traffic. Just let that last car pass. Make that turn. You're going to be happier. I have made it my life's mission, one of my life's missions. I have several life missions, to not get mad in traffic. I live about 20 miles of highway traffic from the office, and I'm totally fine with that. I get cut off every single day in traffic, every single day. And now I'm driving through construction to get here, and it's 100 times worse. And I used to, years ago, I'd get mad about it. I'm not doing that anymore. I just don't. It's not worth my time. It's not worth my effort. It's not worth your time or your effort. If you get cut off, may I suggest that we pray for those people, because they're in a hurry. Their blood pressure is skyrocketing, whatever. Just let them go. It's not worth the effort. It is, I can tell you 100%, it is not worth the effort. I want you to be part of the book club. I want you to get the book. I think you'll like the book. I can't guarantee that you'll love the book. I've got some stories in there. When I do the audio book, I would like to throw a few other tidbits in there, so maybe you'd like that too. I'm open to suggestions for things that I could add to the audio book or the next book. I kind of got the book bug and wouldn't mind writing another one. I have a couple ideas for them, and so we'll be exploring that later. I'm going to take a little bit of a break right now. But I am David Szafranski, a real American, a true red-blooded, patent-owning patriot, and the voice you can trust.